A young woman was home alone, studying for an exam, when she heard a noise coming from upstairs. Thinking it was just the wind or her imagination, she ignored it and went back to focusing on her studies. But then, she heard a long, low creak, like a door slowly opening. Her heart raced since all the doors were locked. She grabbed her phone and started typing a message to her parents, but before she could send it, she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps in the upstairs hallway. Her body froze for a moment. Had she forgotten to close a window? With her breath quickening, she grabbed a kitchen knife and started climbing the stairs slowly. Each step creaked under her feet, and the eerie feeling of being watched grew stronger. When she reached the top, a chill ran down her spine. The attic door was slightly open. She didn't remember opening it. A cold draft seeped through the gap, carrying a strange smell, something she couldn't quite identify. Summoning her courage, she carefully pushed the door open and raised her phone to light up the dark space. In the corner of the attic, next to a pile of old boxes, there was a makeshift mattress and scattered food scraps. But the worst part was the open notebook on the floor, filled with pages detailing her daily schedule or habits, and even conversations she'd had inside the house. Before she could react, she heard a noise behind her. Someone or something was there. She bolted down the stairs and ran out of the house in a panic, calling the police. When the officers arrived, they searched the house but found no one. However, the back door was unlocked and dirty footprints led all the way to the backyard fence. It was a rainy night when a man decided to binge watch his favorite show while home alone, nearly dozing off on the couch. He was startled by the persistent sound of the doorbell. He got up and walked to the door, peeking through the peephole. No one was there. Assuming it was some kind of prank, he went back to the couch. But just a few minutes later, the doorbell rang again. He checked the security camera, but the street was empty. Deciding to ignore it, he suddenly received a notification on his phone. Motion detected at the front door. When he played the video, he saw a shadowy figure standing still, staring directly at the camera. In the blink of an eye, the figure vanished without a trace. The rain outside grew heavier, and a creeping sense of panic set in. Who would be messing with him at this hour? He checked the other cameras around the house. That's when he saw something even more disturbing. One of the recordings, captured just minutes earlier, showed the silhouette standing outside the living room window, watching him. But the most terrifying part? The footage clearly showed him inside, sitting on the couch, completely unaware that someone or something had been watching him the entire time. His heart pounding, he turned off all the lights and ran to his bedroom, locking the door behind him. With his hands shaking, he called the police. When the officers arrived, they searched the yard but found no one. However, after reviewing the security footage, they noticed something even more unsettling. The silhouette had remained in the recording for several minutes, motionless, but it was never seen arriving, and it was never seen leaving. It just appeared. A woman lived alone in a ground-floor apartment, and one morning, she noticed strange marks on her living room window. They were handprints, as if someone had been looking inside during the night. Disturbed, she wiped them away and tried to forget. But the next morning, when she woke up, the marks were back. Only this time, they were closer to the door. A chill ran down her spine, and she decided to install a security camera. The following morning, she checked the footage, and her blood ran cold. Around 3 a.m, a man appeared out of nowhere, pressed his face against a window, and stood there for several minutes, completely still. His wide eyes seemed to stare into the darkness of the apartment, as if he could see through it. The worst part? He was never seen leaving. There was no footage of him walking away. It was as if he had simply vanished. The next night, something even more unsettling happened. The marks were now on her bedroom window. This time, there was something written on the glass in shaky handwriting. "I know you're in there." That night, she slept with all the lights on and pushed her dresser against the door. But even so, in the middle of the night, she woke up with a terrible chill. The silence was absolute until she heard it, a faint sound of breathing coming from the window right next to her bed. A wave of terror paralyzed her. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. Holding her breath, She slowly turned her head toward the window. The street lamp outside cast just enough light to reveal a silhouette. Something standing there, motionless. Two pale eyes gleamed in the darkness, staring at her without blinking. She threw herself out of bed, bolted for the door, and ran out of the room, locking herself in the bathroom. With shaking hands, she grabbed her phone and called the police. As she waited, she could hear it, a faint scratching against the wooden bedroom door. Something or someone was in there. Minutes later, the wail of sirens shattered the silence of the night. When the officers broke down the apartment door, there was no sign of a break-in. Every window, every door was still locked. But on the bedroom window, right next to the bed where she had been sleeping, something new had been written in even shakier letters. "You let me in." A boy was playing video games when he heard a noise coming from his parents' bedroom. Thinking it was just a cat, he ignored it. But when the noise happened again, he decided to check. As he opened the bedroom door, a chill ran down his spine. The closet doors were slightly open, and the sound of heavy breathing was coming from inside. His heart pounded as he froze for a moment, straining to listen, mustering his courage. He took a step forward and, with trembling hands, pulled one of the doors open. The space inside was empty. But before he could calm down, he noticed something that made his stomach drop. The other door began to move on its own. Something inside the closet was pushing it open. He slowly backed away, keeping his eyes locked on the door, until a raspy whisper filled the silence. "I know you can hear me." The boy bolted out of the room, slamming the door shut. When his parents got home, they found the closet empty, but the clothes were in disarray, as if someone had actually been hiding inside. Trying to reassure their son, his father emptied the closet and pushed it against the wall to prove there was no secret passage. Everything was normal. After much convincing, the boy was told it was all just a bad dream. But later that night, a new sound woke him up. It was coming from his parents' room, his heart racing. He slipped out of bed and peeked down the dark hallway. The bedroom door was slightly open, and then he saw it. The closet doors were now wide open. A pale, skeletal hand gripped the edge of the door. Before he could scream, the hand moved, too fast to be seen clearly. In an instant, the room was swallowed by an eerie silence. The boy ran to his parents' bed, but they were lying still. Their wide, unblinking eyes stared at the ceiling, frozen in terror, as if they had seen something unspeakable in their final moments. On the wall, scrawled in thin, dark streaks, was a single sentence. "Now you heard me,